Hello? Oh, okay, that works. Okay, so for Quiz Bowl, like there are, as you probably know, there are like many topics that you could want to focus on, and here we can see them here. So so let's start with what is Quiz Bowl. Quiz Bowl is basically where you have like two teams. Actually, we can just watch this.
Quiz Bowl is a game in which two teams of students from middle school, high school, or college, of 4 players each, compete head-to-head to score as many points as possible by answering questions from all areas of knowledge, including history, literature, science, fine arts, current events, and more. The moderator begins each round by reading a toss-up question to both teams. Each toss-up question contains a series of clues that start hard and end easy. Any player may buzz in to answer a question at any time, but they must answer without the help of their teammates.
This artist argued that art impacts people through the principle of inner necessity, an idea he elaborated on in his book concerning the spiritual in art.
A player who answers a toss-up correctly earns his or her team 10 or even 15 points, depending how fast the player answers the question.
Famous Russian artist who created many improvisations and compositions, as well as the Blue Rider.
Kandinsky.
That's correct for 10 points.
If the player answers a toss-up incorrectly, the other team gets a chance for one of its members to answer the question.
One breakdown product of this protein, ferrohemate, is toxic to the kidneys in a condition whose symptoms include tea-colored urine. Hemoglobin? Sorry. That's correct for 10 points.
The team that wins the toss-up also earns the chance to answer the bonus, 3 questions with a shared theme.
While arguing against segregation, this man said the ground at the foot of the cross is level.
Billy Graham.
In 1963, Graham posted bail when Martin Luther King was imprisoned in this Alabama city. Graham opposed this televangelist moral authority.
Liberty University dude.
Jerry Falwell.
Each section is worth 10 points for a total of 30. All team members can work together to answer these questions. A typical game consists of about 20 toss-up questions and takes about 30 minutes to play. At the end of this time, the team with the most points wins.
Okay, so you basically saw right there what Quiz Bowl is all about. And so our main website that are like for NAQT High School Quiz Bowl is the NAQT website, so naqt.com. And so here you can see like important information like tournaments that are coming up, like how to start a team, which we already have started to start a team. And mainly here, the important stuff you can find sample questions here, but like it's just like one packet. So for sample questions, I would recommend searching up HS Quiz Bowl packets. Then you'll probably find some from Quiz Bowl packets from here and here. So these are like the two main topic, like these are the two main like packet archives. So the high school, you can see here there's like a bunch of stuff, and like all of these are individual tournaments. And in all of these, they're like 10 packets each, so they're all very detailed stuff. So of course, you want to make sure that you're not playing too hard stuff, because I mean, of course, we are all like just kind of new to high school Quiz Bowl, so I would recommend like the Scope SCOP novice packets. Let's see, Scope. Scope Novice 8. They have one like every year, so this is Scope Novice 8, Novice Round 1. So this is so one of the best ways to study for Quiz Bowl is like just reading packets, and then if you know the answer, you probably Okay, so for Quizbowl, the first important thing is you wanna like keep a notebook. So if if you're like reading a packet and you don't know something, like immediately search it up or write it down so you can search it up later. And if you do know something but you're not sure like about it too much, then you also want to write that down. Like so, like I don't know what Orson Michel is, right? So then I would search that up. And the other website is hsquizbowl.org. So this also has like a database, and it also, yeah, and question sets are here. View all sets. There's a bunch of stuff, but mostly like your main one will probably be quizbowlpackets.com. And here. Okay, so now that we've covered like one of the best ways to practice like Quizbowl, let's look at the NEQT website. So you can buy practice material, which I will probably be doing, and here you can see they have some resources for like reference materials. So reference materials are like very useful because like this book, the Bennett's Reader Encyclopedia, very useful for if you want to go to literature area like plot summaries, historical events, that kind of thing. So that's what this is good for, and they have a lot of these here. If you go to like NEQT resources / references, so some of this stuff is actually quite useful. Like, so if you see something in here, so definitely I would, if you're covering current events, I would recommend reading The Economist like every week. It's very useful because pretty much the current events questions that they have aren't exceptionally like difficult, and if you read every week The Economist, it's just business this week and world this week, you'll be pretty much good enough for current events. And for politics, you want to know like, okay, actually I'll get to that later, but so these are references for writing questions, right? But the people who are writing questions, they'll be taking their information from probably these books. So if you have some of these books or you've read these books, you'll probably be more prepared for what will come up, because people who are writing questions will get information from here. So if you've read this, you'll probably get many of the clues that they put into the questions. So these are like some good books that I would recommend. I'd probably recommend getting this book, The New Dictionary of Cultural Literacy, if you're doing literature and master plots. And then these three books by Daniel Boorstin: The Discoverers, The Creators, and The Seekers. Okay, so you've seen, so that's what the main stuff is here, like the reference materials. Then so if you go to improving as a player, it'll give you like a long like 10-step or 12-step guide to improving as a player. So the biggest so this is very important. I would definitely recommend, if you're like confused on what to do, you go here because it's very detailed guide. So like, of course, the first step is to compete. Then like practicing. So practicing, we will probably having like 1 or 2 practices a week that are like 2 to 3 hours long, so that you guys will get used to like buzzing and stuff. But most of Quizbowl is individual preparation, so you want to read the textbooks or the books or whatever it is that you're trying to study for. Another step is writing questions, but we probably aren't at that level yet to be able to write questions. And this is a very important step. You want to study the You Gotta Know list. Like, these are very, very helpful, very, very useful. Like, if there's a high school team and we pretty much know all of these, then we'll be pretty good for nationals. Like, it's very useful. So if you're doing geography, so first, like, when you go here, click by category. So it'll be, you'll get to here, then click by category. So if you're studying, say, geography, all the important geography stuff will be here. Of course, there's a lot more for geography than just these things, but like, these are very important things that you should like definitely know. The Gobi Desert, Antarctica, Sahara Desert, etc., etc., that kind of thing. And I would definitely recommend that every team like so if you're doing, so you want to study whatever area that you're doing. So if you're the person taking pop culture, I would definitely recommend you know these 4 things, because it's not like there are too many things they'll ask for from video game series. If they're gonna ask a video game question, it will be from this. Like, it will be from this. Oh yeah, like this, pretty much. So yeah, reading the you gotta know list is very important. If you like I mentioned before, if you're doing literature, you probably want to read the plot summaries of like important works. So I'll be sending everyone or giving them like frequency lists, and the frequency lists basically detail like the important. So it shows you. Actually, I'll just show it to you right here. No, the frequency list show you like the most frequent like topics that come up. Say for literature, the most frequent question that comes up is like about Hamlet. That's like the most frequent topic. So you probably definitely want to read that. So know like the important stuff about that. So whatever area you're doing, say you're doing military history, you want to know at least like the top like 1,000 like top 500 things in there for like the entry level, and then like for nationals, you probably want to know at least like I don't know top like 2,000 important stuff in that area. And it's not like so many of the things will be so they'll in military history they might mention a war, and there are some important battles that you need to know in the war. So it's not like there are billions of different things that you can study. Yeah, and like I mentioned, the reference works are very like useful, and lists. So NAQT sells like these frequency lists as I mentioned, and I will probably be buying them so that we can use them. And yeah, like I mentioned before, you definitely want to have a notebook or something so that if there's a question or something you don't know, you definitely want to note it down so that you will be able to get it the next time that it comes up. Okay, so for current events, like I said, you definitely want to know like some recent Nobel Prize winners, like the current cabinet of the United States president, important leaders of major countries, recent Supreme Court like decisions and like judges, and like important senators, representatives, and governors. Major importance. So they won't ask you like some small things. So as long as you read maybe like 10 minutes a day in the morning, you read the news and you read The Economist, if you can get it, you read it every day, then you should be good enough for current events if that's your area. For visual art, there's not many things that come up for visual art, so there's a frequency list for visual art, for art in general, that I will be giving you guys, or for whoever is studying it. So it's mainly like all you need to know is you look at the frequency list and then say it says like the first thing is The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. You could search up. You probably want to read the Wikipedia page about it, and then look at the image up close. So it says it's in the MoMA. And it discusses some interesting things and the inspiration in the questions. Most of the time, like they will be for art, they will probably be asking like they will be discussing important themes, and then they'll say like melting clocks or ants crawling over some food. As you can see, melting clocks and ants crawling, like that kind of thing. They'll be mentioning like details, probably not too like fine or minute, but like details, and then some like themes. Like in this situation, it's about like time. So that's what they'll mainly be asking for art. Okay. Okay, so I will discuss like how you can figure out what tournaments we're going to, or like so click tournaments and then you'll see like any upcoming events. So high school, California. So I don't have to be like showing you guys, okay, we're going to this tournament. You could just search it up. Okay, so this is the September 22nd tournament that some of you guys will be going to in San Francis High School. And if you click the field, you can see what teams are there and stuff. And I definitely recommend you guys to like study, but also like scout out your opponents sometimes. So you can click. Okay, no. The registration field. Like these are the teams registered and stuff. So Folsom ABD, I have put in the varsity division, and Folsom C in the junior varsity division. So the only teams that can qualify are from the varsity division, and the junior varsity division is going to be slightly easier, and it's like better practice, I guess, so that in the next tournaments you'll be able to play better. So even though they use the same question packets, this will be the varsity division will probably be a bit harder because it has. So Pioneers is a very good team. Basis, very good team. We are kind of good, I guess. Davis is a very good team. And Merloma is a very good team. Those are our primary competitors. And if you want to know how many teams can qualify for nationals, you look at the total number of teams that have signed up in both varsity and junior varsity. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and then 11. So 10 plus 11 is 21. And then so the top 15% of teams qualify. So 21 times 0.5 equals 3.5. So you round that up to 4 teams. So 4 teams can qualify at the moment from this tournament. So if they extend the division, so there's more teams available that can join, then probably more teams can qualify. Okay, so now let me. Okay, I also want you guys to fill out the Google Forms that I sent out, so that I'll kind of have an idea of what teams to put you on, because I want to have only like say 4 people doing science, so that I can have 1 person on each team. And then 4 people doing like history, 4 people doing geography, 4 people doing literature. That's what my goal is. So it's preferable that I know who is doing what, so that I can either say, oh, we don't have enough literature, so can you do literature, that kind of thing. Okay, so for sure, as I mentioned, you want to read the You Gotta Know in respective areas. So now, okay, also if you want to look at like results of past years, you could search up people or schools. Okay. So now I'll be discussing what areas there are and what you need to like study to so like some good ways to study. Okay, so here it says the bolded thing is like the major category name. So here it's literature. So first one is literature, and here like the per packet, it tells you how many approximate questions there are per packet. So 4.2 means like approximately 4 questions will be in every packet in high school, and then the second main, and then these are all like subtopics. So out of that 4, there will be like 1 non-English literature question, 2 or 3 English literature questions, and so on and so forth. And then for science here, approximately 5 to 6 questions per round. So so computation, there's always like 1 math question per round. So, and it'll be like not hard math, it'll be easy math. And then there'll probably be like every 2 rounds there'll be a math theory question. And then they've further broken it up into physics, biology, chemistry. Okay, then the next major topic is fine arts. There are approximately 1 to 2 questions per round, and out of that there's like visual, which is paintings, architecture, sculpture, music, performance. History, there's American, European, world, which is like neither of the first 2. And then I don't know, cross history, which is like exploration and conquistadors and stuff. And then geography, which is approximately 2 questions per round, and they've further split that up here. And then there's pop culture, and sports. So sports, there's approximately like a sports question every 2 rounds, and then pop culture questions. There's like 2 questions per round. So it's not necessarily that like pop culture / sports. There's approximately 2 questions per round. And then social sciences like economics, philosophy, psychology. And then for current events, there's like 2 questions per round. So current events is important. Like current events in politics, it is important. Okay, so the first resource that I have for you guys is Protobul, which is like extremely useful because you get like a lot of exposure to the questions, and one of the best ways to become good at Quizbowl is to reading and playing a lot of questions. And over time, like it's like a method of osmosis. So over time, like some of that information will get stuck in your head, so you'll remember it. Additionally, you can gouge yourself against like your friends here at Folsom High. If you do the FHSQB room, there's a chance that someone will be playing at the moment. Looks like no one right now, but yeah. And so say you're doing history or something, you click the history room, and there's a good chance someone will be playing. So history room. Senate and the House today. Interesting. Yeah, so here on the sides, like you can input your name, whatever your name is, and change it to like I don't know, whatever FFF. And then you can also play as a team, but I mainly just recommend playing as an individual. And in other rooms you can create. So here it'll tell you like what topic it is and what type of questions. And if you want to buzz, you press space. To go to the next question, you press N or J, and you press slash or enter to chat with other people. So slash. Okay. Oh, there's no. Okay, this is slow. Hello. Okay. Okay, and if you don't want to play against anyone, you can play in your own room. So always, whenever you open this, there's like random names of rooms. So these are like unique rooms. So say you want to go to Einstein Heating School room, you can like edit whichever topic you want to go to here. You want to do it like so you probably choose like high school, and then whichever area you will plan on like studying for or doing. You can also create your own, like, so if you don't want any trash is like the term that Quizbowl uses for pop culture. If you don't want any trash, you can remove one, like add a science or add a literature, and then okay, so now that we've discussed, okay, also if you want to say you're doing like I don't know, history, and you want to know specifically something about Henry IV, you can search up in this search bar here, Henry IV, or okay, just search up Henry. Okay, ignore that. Okay, say you want to know Louis the 14th. Okay, XI5, and you'll get questions that are about Louis the 14th. Or have the name of Louis XIV somewhere. So yeah, okay. So this is very useful because yeah, you can say you want to know like the important clues that come up whenever there's an answer of Louis XIV or the Revolutionary War. You can easily like figure out what clues there are. So often, whenever the Revolutionary War is mentioned, these topics come up. Benetton, Ethan Allen, Green Mountain Boys, etc. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through every topic individually, and we'll look at them. So for science, what could you do for science? If you're studying for Science Bowl or Science Olympiads or like Chem Olympiad, Physics Olympiad, that is very, very useful. So for chemistry, if you're doing chemistry, I would recommend the Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston Modern Chemistry textbook. It's a very good book, and it's not like exceptionally expensive. And of course, for most of these textbooks, you don't need the latest edition. So like for the Kemple biology, you just need probably the 8th edition, because after that, most of the time textbooks update every year, but they're more expensive, the later editions. So you want, and since they don't change much every year, because it's most of the time they just revise it, change the table of contents and stuff like that. So you probably get a used or like barely used textbook for like very low prices. And then for physics, I would recommend Modern Physics. Actually, there's this free Modern Physics textbook. I don't remember where it is. I think this is the one. For physics, for science in general, the best thing you could do is just read the textbooks. No, this is quantum physics. Okay, yeah, but you could probably just search up physics textbooks. But for science in general, I would recommend reading the textbooks, watching Crash Course, which is a very, very useful source in general, because Crash Course has courses and / like YouTube videos on pretty much every topic. If you're doing mythology, it has something on mythology. If you're doing, let me show you. Okay, so they have something on engineering, they have something on the history of science, they have something on media literacy, whatever that is, they have something on theater, something on computer science, world mythology, sociology, they have something on world history, biology, ecology, literature, US history, chemistry, psychology, world history 2, anatomy and physiology. They have all of these things on Crash Course, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's very, very useful. Very useful resource, because they make it very interesting and fun while teaching you a lot of stuff. So I'll show you an example. World history.
Hello, learned and astonishingly attractive pupils. My name is John Green, and I want to welcome you to Crash Course World History. Over the next 40 weeks together, we will learn how in a mere 15,000 years, humans went from hunting and gathering...
Mr. Green, is this going to be on the test?
Yeah, about the test. The test will measure whether you are an informed, engaged, and productive citizen of the world, and it will take place in schools and bars and hospitals and dorm rooms and in places of worship. You will be tested on first dates, in job interviews, while watching football, and while scrolling through your Twitter feed. The test will judge your ability to think about things other than celebrity marriages, whether you'll be easily persuaded by empty political rhetoric, and whether you'll be able to place your life and your community in a broader context.
Okay. So if you're whatever area you're doing, I would definitely recommend that you watch if you can, watch the Crash Course video for it, like in the area. So now that we've covered science, so for math, you don't really need to study, just basic like algebra, quick maths basically. Then for fine arts, as I mentioned, there are additionally, there are these books called the DK, the literature book. So DK has published like many books that are simply like the and blank books. And I would definitely recommend, if you can, like to get it from the library or something. So in this version they have the literature book, but they also have the arts book, the science book, the history book, the literature book, the biology book. So they have like many of these types of books. So I definitely recommend that you try to read them because they are actually quite useful. As you can see here, they have like the philosophy book, the economics book. Okay, that's not the book. Here. The literature book. If you're doing science, they have the science book, the Shakespeare book, the philosophy book, the politics book, and so on and so forth. So they have it on pretty much everything. So I would definitely recommend whatever area you're doing, see if there's one of these books for it. Okay, so for fine arts, they have the art book. And I think that's probably good enough to cover everything important. Also, check out the frequency list. So the art frequency list will probably, like if you read the first, I don't know, couple hundred, you'll probably be good enough for it. So actually, let's look at the table of contents for this. I'm curious. Oh, looks like I can't. Oh well. Yeah, but they have it, looks like, on a lot of useful things. So I would definitely recommend that you, if you're doing art, I'm sure that this is pretty much the only thing you need to know. And you could also play like Portable. And I would also recommend Study Stacks. They have a lot of Quizable like flashcards in there. And Quizlet. That also has a surprising number of Quizable like flashcards. So you see here a bunch of stuff like composers and stuff as well, you can see on here. Okay, so for classical music, you want to know like the important composers, important pieces that they've like composed, and a bit of like theory, but not much. Like you just need to know like, oh, C is the major scale that has no like sharps or flats, that kind of thing. And then for performance, it's opera, dance, theater. It's just look at your frequency list in general. For all of these, I would recommend looking at your frequency list and then searching them up. So for like, you could get like opera for dummies, but you're probably not planning on going to an opera, so that's probably not very like useful. Okay, so for history, of course, again, Protobol, and there's a bunch of like, if you go to the You Gotta Know, that is also like, there's a bunch of stuff on that, and Crash Course. So that's really useful. And there are also some good textbooks. For example, for world history, there's also, additionally, you could watch Khan Academy for your history, math, science, because that has a lot of useful stuff. And like for most of these topics, if you know them at the AP level, you'll probably be good enough for it. But history also requires that you practice, so definitely look at your frequency list and search them up and stuff. Okay, so geography, there's this fantastic, so don't use Crash Course because Crash Course doesn't have anything on geography. Use Protobol. Get some like Geography B preparation books, because geography actually doesn't have a frequency list, so use some Geography B preparation books. You need to know like capitals, cities, countries, like the major industries in a country if it's small, or in like important cities in a country and their industries. Like Detroit is like car industry, Pittsburgh the steel industry. So you need to know both the historic industries and like the current industries. And the thing about geography is that it's not like there will be a lot of geography questions in the thing. There'll only be a couple, but they will have a lot of geography clues. So even if you don't know, it's like a literature answer. Even if you don't know it, you could still get it because of geography, because they might mention something like, oh, this bridge, like they might mention the Windsor Palace or something. So you could use Geography B study resources like this. And this great website is I Like to Learn, which it has like all this stuff, continents, map quizzes about like pretty much every country. So if you know pretty much everything in here, you'll probably be good enough, because you need to know mountains, you need to know land features, oceans, that kind of thing. What else? Yeah, Quizlet for sure. Search Quiz Bowl geography. You gotta know how some stuff in geography. So yeah, geography bowls. So you want to know that kind of thing. You definitely want to know all the world capitals, especially for African countries, because for some reason Quiz Bowl seems to ask a lot of questions about Africa. For mythology, you could watch Crash Course Mythology. It's just pretty much Percy Jackson stuff. And for classical mythology, it's Percy Jackson stuff. For Egyptian, it's the Carter Kane, the Kane Chronicles. It's pretty much all you need to know. And like, if you like mythology in general, you could search some like. So what I did, I used to just read things about mythology, like, oh, Sisyphus. Let's read about Sisyphus. Then it'll send me off in some random tangent about, like, I don't know, Hermes. So for classical, you could just read Wikipedia, and Percy Jackson's good enough. For Egyptian, Kane Chronicles. For Scandinavian, the gods of Asgard, that Rick Riordan Asgard thing, Magnus Chase. Then non-classical, so they have some Indian. They will occasionally have an Indian myth, and because most of us are Indian, we will probably know it, so you don't really need to study that. You might mention Vishnu or something. And then for non-European, they will have Babylonian and Shinto. So Babylonian myth is, you can probably just search it up. And then Aztec and Incan and Shinto. Shinto is like Japanese thing. Just search those things up and you'll find them. For pop culture, you just need to know like famous actresses, actors, like musicians, modern day musicians. They use like that celebrity stuff. For sports, I mean, you guys can probably split this up. So like, they will occasionally ask like an old question, like the first football team to win Super Bowl or something like that. So you want to know some sports history as well. Oh yeah, for pop culture, not only do you want to know like film stuff, you also want to know the musician and TV. So like video games and TV. So like Atari Breakout or Zelda or something, or Friends. Then for social science, you can watch Crash Course Economics, Crash Course Government and Politics. So political philosophy, like Machiavelli and Hobbes. Psychology, there's a Crash Course Psychology. Like AP, if you find the AP version of any of these, it'll be pretty much good enough for Quiz Bowl. And then philosophy, it's there, just Crash Course Philosophy. Current events, as I mentioned, read the news every day for like 10 minutes. And if you read The Economist like every week, maybe, it's probably good enough. For politics, you want to know important governors, representatives of states, presidents, world leaders. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really all you need to know. There aren't too many like wonder things. If there are any links that you want me to send you, I can. What else? Oh yeah, so definitely practice. If you don't know an answer, search it up. And try to learn as much as you can about like everything. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know. Good luck studying.